Welcome to my podcast, Why Do Pets Matter? This is Debra Hamilton. This podcast will seek to define and explain this important question from multiple points of view. We will interview owners, breeders, caregivers, defenders, advocates, champions, and educators. The mission of my podcast is to seek and foster collaborative conversations where every point of view feels heard, acknowledged, and appreciated. I look forward to you joining me on this journey toward a better understanding of each other. It is possible to have an impossible conversation. It starts with listening for common ground first. I am so glad you're here listening in with me. Now let's see what my next guest has to say. Hi, it's Debra Hamilton, and I'm here with Dr. Elizabeth Colleran, who is one of only 84 feline specialty veterinarians in the world. She's the former president of the American Association of Feline Practitioners, and now she is sort of coordinating the cat-friendly practice task force, because we all know that cats are really incredibly wonderful pets. I, of course, only found that out about 2 years ago when I got a grandkitty named Jane, who I will share the picture of in this podcast listing so everyone can meet Jane. But Dr. Colleran, thank you so much for being here and for joining us on Why Do Pets Matter?
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. I never tire of talking about cats anyway. So, and you're a friend of mine, so it's really wonderful to see you.
I know, especially in these times that are a little bit different than normal. So I'm so grateful you had time in your schedule to take care of us and let us know why do pets matter to you. And then we're going to talk about why do pets matter in the great scheme of things.
Well, I'm unusual background for a veterinarian. I never had a pet of my own when I was a kid. And I was a marketing and sales person in IBM and decided that the thing that I wanted to do for my life was not the same as making money for shareholders. And I wanted to find a way to do something useful and worthwhile in the animal world. And that sent me to vet school despite, and of course, a strong desire to have a pet of my own, which I did by that time. And I realized what a tremendous amount of love and consideration and care I got from my cat and dog. And so, it just made sense to me to change my life to something that would give back in that world.
I'm so grateful you shared that, because a lot of people don't have pets when they're younger. And then when they do finally bring a pet into their life, it's so impactful. Some of us have been lucky enough to have parents who brought pets in when we were younger. I had a Schnauzer when I was 5 and an Irish setter from the time I was, I think, around 13 until 61, and I'm still going strong with those crazy Irish setters. So right there, you know all about me. Have 5 Irish setters. Craziness.
Yeah.
But I simply never had a cat because my husband's allergic to it, and I don't think my mother would have gone there anyway. But my son got a cat, and I just love Jane. So tell us a little bit more about why do pets matter as felines, because you're so engrossed in felines and their care and the health issues they might have that owners need to be aware of. Tell us a little bit more why you focus so much on felines.
Well, first of all, they're fascinating. They are very different than dogs. They are a unique species that is a hypercarnivore. They are territorial. In the wild, they evolved from this remarkable solitary hunter who took care of him or herself forever and ate small things because there was only one being to feed. And they evolved into this amazing companion. They're unlike any other feline species. Cats began to love us and want to be with us in a way that has never been duplicated in any other species. And I have a whole hour-long lecture that I would love to give sometime on how to know your cat loves you. And
I would love to be part of that. Don't let me miss that.
It's true that they in ways that are in some ways subtle, and other ways, once you learn a little bit more about how cats interact with each other, you get a feeling for just what they're saying to you with their body language. The funny part is, though, cats don't talk to each other. And so if your cat talks to you, it's because you haven't been able to translate the communication from feline into human in such a way that they feel like they're being understood. And so cats learn to yell at us because we're so obtuse.
I love that. So dogs can sometimes do that too, but usually it's let's go out now and things like that. But I think cats really let you know exactly what they want.
They do, and they get a little frustrated when we don't know what they're talking about, but you can learn to read them in just the same way as you do dogs. They just have a different set of languages that they need to communicate with us. But they are incredibly loving animals. And one of the beautiful things now in this time is that people are home and lonely and bored and frustrated and scared. And what they've got at home now is especially their cats and dogs. In my world, of course, it's the cats, but I've never appreciated more how important these family members are.
You're so right, because we bred one of my dogs and we didn't think it took. We thought she had lost the litter, and she actually ended up with 2 puppies, which is small for an Irish setter litter. But oh my God, I've shared photographs and videos on the internet, and the response has been huge because everybody is looking for something really wonderful to watch or to experience right now. And I think our pets are probably keeping us from becoming stir crazy.
Well, there's something really wonderful about the human-animal bond, and the important thing there, though, is, and you and I were talking about this a little bit earlier, the important thing there is that it's a two-way street. We get so much from them, and we have to remember that we have to give stuff back. Like, cats are very territorial. They like things to be predictable. They don't like change. And so at a time when we're all emotionally kind of fraught, we need to take a minute and breathe with them and sit with them and re-engage in all of the behaviors that they have come to expect from us.
Right. If we're at work all day long and now we're at home all day long, I know my dogs want to take their nap when they used to take their nap, and they're sort of wondering why I take a walk then. They're like, wait a minute, it's nap time. But cats are sort of like that too. They have their rituals that they do. And if you're home, it sort of throws them off as well. And what you were alluding to before when we were talking about this is when service animals are being used now in a home base as opposed to going to work, their schedule and routine is off as well. We really do have to take a minute and recognize they may not be so happy that we're around all the time because it's so different for them.
It's very, cats are they really do like routine, just, maybe even a little bit more than dogs do. And so when you change it all up, you have to recognize that you're stressing out your cat, a little bit. And so it's a really good time to think about how to calm yourself and calm your family members, regardless of whether they have 2 or 4 legs, to take a little bit of time and just breathe.
You know what I have found with colleagues of mine when I've been on a few of these Zoom webinars, the cats are so much more likely to become part of the video. They just walk over the keys or they walk on the shoulder. Dogs will jump on you and stuff, but the cats are like, wait a minute, you've been on there for 20 minutes. I'm done now. You need to pay attention.
Yeah. It's time for me. It's a little me time, and in fact, I had a Zoom meeting yesterday and that happened. And, there was a nice big close up of a cat's butt.
Yeah. And you know what? Good thing was all those feline veterinarians as well.
Yeah.
Dr. Colleran, tell me again, what's going on now with veterinary medicine in this time? I know that it's considered one of the vital services, so they're all open, but it's done so differently now.
Yeah, we are not allowing humans into the hospital. So the client brings us the cat and the carrier is put outside the car. We've asked people to fill out a form that talks about why they're here so that, and they can email that to us. So we're not even bringing a piece of paper from a household into the hospital. And then we're setting up basically video conferencing so that the client can experience the exam that's taking place inside the hospital by seeing video of it. And then they can ask the doctor questions. The doctor can answer them or ask their own questions. And so we're doing everything we can to make sure that people aren't afraid of what's happening. You know all about how terrified people get when you take your dog in the back, and it's like, oh my God, what are they going to do to my dog? So it's that same thing. We want them to experience what we're doing so that they can have confidence that we're taking really good, gentle care, and that we're employing all of the cat-friendly practice techniques we do to keep the stress low and keep the cat calm so that we can do the best possible medicine. So yeah, it's a really different world out there now, but we're still, healthcare is really important. And one of the things I found out in a big meeting day before yesterday is that the shelters are closing, and they're not doing spays and neuters anymore. They're not requiring people to have the cats spayed and neutered before they're adopted. And they're trying to get all the cats out of the shelters to make room for what could potentially be cats from COVID-19 households. And so this huge undertaking is making for an influx of a tremendous number of adoptions. And it's kitten season. So this is a very busy time for us, and we're just trying to navigate our way through patient care.
It's so interesting you said that, because I am, one of my clients is a TNR group here in New York, and they are trying to get the town to continue their work, but it's closed. So they don't want to deal with TNR. It's not high on their list yet. As we all know, in the springtime, late winter, early spring, lots of kittens are born.
Yeah, and that's not going to change. COVID-19 isn't going to change the fertility rate. And so, down the road, we're going to have a tremendous issue that we're going to have to address. And for right now, the good news is that people, because they have time and because they're lonely and because there's a huge need, they're adopting. And so we're seeing lots of new patients every day.
Well, that's always the best medicine, and hopefully they will be able to get to the point where they are comfortable with their pet when they have to return to work, which hopefully we all hope is soon, but that they will be comfortable with the pet and the pet will be comfortable with them.
Yeah, this is a time to if you adopt a new cat, to get to know them, and not have the pressures of 8 or 10 hours worth of work every day. And, there's something to be said for taking some time to integrate this new family member into the household.
Dr. Colleran, let me ask you a question. You said something before and it really spurred me, because I'm giving a program about what to do if you get COVID-19 with your pet. But also there's different beliefs with respect to whether or not you can get COVID-19 from your pets. So first, let's discuss what to do or what kind of plan you should have in place for your pet if you get sick, and then whether or not you can get sick from your pet.
Well, it's really important to have if you can have someone agree, another family member or somebody else, that if you get the virus, that somebody else will take care of your cat. The shelters are going to be reserved as a last resort, and they're setting aside special wings and training their staff. But to the extent that we can keep them from any type of crowding and any type of stress, remember, one of the things they tell you about an infectious disease is to get a lot of sleep and stay calm, because stress is a huge issue when it comes to immune function. So putting the cat into a place where they at least may know somebody that's in that household is a huge part of it. Now, for the science part, this was part of that meeting I went to. At least right now, there's no evidence that cats or dogs can transmit COVID-19 to humans. In Hong Kong, I think it was, there were 28 dogs and 2 cats who were positive for COVID-19, and none of them got sick, and I don't think any of them, or maybe just a few, seroconverted, and there was no evidence that the virus could be spread to humans. So at least for now, unless the science changes, you can be confident that that cat will not make someone else sick. So you can say to a family member, please take care of my cat. This cat will not make you sick.
So is it likely that if you come down with COVID-19, if you test positive, that you might have shed some of the virus that the cat or dog might have picked up?
Yeah, they can pick it up in their fur. It lives in the environment for a few days, especially on non-porous surfaces. Up to 3 days is what the scientists are telling us. They did it. There's a paper that just was published this week that showed that if you inoculate cardboard with virus, there's no evidence of virus present in 24 hours. So that means that, therefore, that thing that you contaminated very deliberately doesn't have any more virus. So it's not as bad as we thought it might be, but it does live in the environment, and the cats and dogs can pick it up. But the fact that they have fur that's porous means that it's highly unlikely that they could be a fomite.
Yeah.
So, your plastic furniture is more likely to transmit COVID-19 than your dog or cat.
So that's a good thing to know for all pet owners, because we're all sheltering in place now. We all are trying not to have COVID-19, but if we do get symptoms or whatever, being able to, in my talk next week, I'll talk about actually getting in touch with your neighbors, because your family members might not be able to come and help because they live far away, right? And all of us are quarantined.
Yeah, a plan is what you need. However that looks in your world and your life, whether that's a family member or a neighbor or a house sitter or whatever. We all have people we love and that they love us back, and so finding someone that would willingly do that has to be part of the contingency plan for this virus.
It's so interesting to talk to you about this, because cats are not as mobily welcoming, let's put it that way, to move to a new environment as a dog. Dogs actually would sometimes like the new environment. Cats, as you said, are very territorial, really, I think, because Jane doesn't really like me very much yet, and I try my damnedest. They really like one person.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, some cats are really people cats, and they really do like to visit. I have two of my cats that I have right now are very much people cats. When I used to have company for dinner and so on, they would come out and hang out with people and all that. So they're pretty well socialized. But you're right, some cats are not. It depends on how early they were socialized as babies. If they're not socialized to be with humans between 2 and 7 weeks, they're not going to be very good at it. But the other part of it is, we always talk about separation anxiety in dogs. This is separation anxiety in cats is about moving them out of their home range. And so to the extent that we cannot move them, it minimizes their stress enormously. They have separation anxiety about place.
It's so interesting when we think about bringing our cats to a veterinarian. There are two kinds of veterinarians. There are the ones that have an all animal practice, and then there are the specialists that you really work with who simply deal with cats. Tell us a little bit more about what the benefits are, because I think they're huge, going to a veterinarian who really focuses on cats.
Well, I think it actually falls into two buckets, and one of the buckets that really brought me into this form of medicine is that I don't really like knowing a little bit about a whole lot of things. I really like the focus and the depth of knowledge that I can acquire just by focusing on one species. And what that basically means is that because of that, we do things differently from a medical therapy point of view. We have different skill sets. And so the cats in many respects will benefit by that focus on the part of the veterinarians in terms of developing their skills. The other part of it is really cat-friendly practice oriented. We don't have barking dogs. There's no dog smells. We walk slowly. We speak softly. We engage with these cats in a way that keeps their stress level as low as we can keep it, despite the fact that they're outside of their home range. And by doing that, we can then perform the test or perform the therapy that the cats need. You get to the point of arousal in these guys, and you get to the point where you have to stop because you can't make them any madder. And so we can get all the way through our therapeutic plan because the cats aren't that worked up. And and they go home and they, they reintegrate into the household really well. And, it's just a whole different experience for them. And it means better medicine.
It does mean better medicine for the cats that are so near and dear to our hearts. I know that in my vet's practice, she does both. However, it's more likely she gets bitten by a cat than she does by a dog, and likely because I don't know that general practices do the slower talk, the softer talk, the slower movement, which really enables cats to settle a little bit more easily.
Absolutely. And I will tell you that there are only two reasons the cats behave badly in the veterinary setting. The first one is fear, and the second one is pain. And in older cats, sometimes it's both. And so if, one of the things we often do is we will make sure that these cats, if they are older, they might even get a little pain medication before they come in, so that they are just, if they have arthritis, it's not going to be bothering them when we have to take an x-ray or draw some blood, things like that. Those two things, cats are not mean, vicious, or any of those other bad words that people use. They're just terrified, and they act that way because they can't get out of the situation they're in. They cannot figure out a way to run away. And because they can't figure out a way to run away, they're going to turn and fight, just because they need to take care of themselves.
Right. Well, that goes back to where they came from, right? I mean, the cats they evolved from are more aggressive, really, than the wolves that dogs evolved from. I would think. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, they're very territorial, and so the first thing you do is take them out of their home range, and that scares the bejesus out of them. And then you put them in with a bunch of strangers, right? And that, they're not good with strangers. They don't trust very well. And my lab would just, all I had to do was give him a hot dog and he'd be fine in a veterinary setting. But these guys, because they're solitary creatures, any stranger is a threat. And so when you think of it that way, it's not hard to imagine why they're afraid.
And usually, unfortunately, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, please, I hope I am, but most people with cats don't bring cats to the vet unless they're sick.
Well, the really good cat owners believe in preventative care, and they do the things that we, want them to do. And particularly as cats get older, they tend to be very subtle about demonstrating the fact that they're not well. And so what people say to me is, he's just getting old, or no, he's fine, I don't need to bring him in. And what they don't appreciate is, because we're such poor observers of feline behavior, they're missing out on a tremendous amount of information about the things that are going on with these cats. And so they think they're fine, and they're really not. But the preventative care is that's the key to longevity. I mean, I used to think that a 15-year-old cat was an old cat 20 years ago. Now I have a whole bunch of 20-somethings in the practice, So good nutrition, good health care, and a loving family means that these cats are living much longer, much happier lives.
And I think people are understanding that, especially cat owners are becoming more involved with the health of their cats, because they know that preventative wellness checks are going to work so much better, because they've worked so much better on their dogs. And so maybe the correlation is, well, I take my dog all the time, and okay, cats don't like to go to the vet more so than dogs don't like to go to the vet. The vet doesn't like to see the cat unless it's a focused vet like you. And so I'm just not going to fight with the cat. But now, because cats have become such a bigger part of our lives, I mean, the number of cats that are becoming pets is growing in leaps and bounds because of the ease of care, that people are starting to do wellness checks.
Oh, yeah, and millennials love cats. The last time I looked, there's more companion animal cats than dogs in North America now. So, people are finding them to be wonderful housemates and family members. And so the medicine's evolving too. Now with cat-friendly practice and other techniques like that, it's not so bad for these cats to get the medical care that they need.
They really are starting to, most veterinary practices are starting to recognize the need for some cat-friendly ability. And if they aren't strictly cat-friendly, I don't know, you know most of the cat practitioners, they sort of drag a cat practitioner in once or twice a week to make sure they are more cat-friendly on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Well, yeah, and that's, in fact, the day is called Catter Day, and it's a Wednesday or Thursday, and the veterinarian on the staff that really likes cats does all the cat work on that day. And so there are all kinds of ways to make it easier on cats to have a better experience, even if you can't get everybody to focus on it. There's always somebody in the practice that likes cats.
So now that we're totally enamored with cats, and I do love Jane, and I have to say that she was completely well socialized by my son, I just think I give off a really bad dog odor that probably does not attract her to me. But I digress. So my son has really created a cat, because she does come out, which I always feel, I just like when cats come out. I don't have to touch them. I can talk to them from afar. I'm good with that. I can pet them if they'll come up to me. That's great. But what are some of the signs that cat owners can look for that really need to be followed up on? Like if the cat's sleeping too much. I mean, I know if my dogs don't eat or my dogs don't, jump on me when they're older, that there's some sign that I need to get further discussion with my vet.
Probably one of the most common ones is in any cat over 9 years old, just about all of them have some form of osteoarthritis. So if the cat is like a little hesitant about jumping off the counter that they used to jump on really readily, or takes a step down to a chair before jumping to the floor, or goes up the stairs and takes a break in the middle of the stairs on the way up, those kinds of just really subtle things that nobody pays any attention to are signs that this cat's got some significant skeletal pain. I mean, and if I could get everybody just to focus on that, the quality of life for these older cats would go up exponentially.
And their teeth, I think, because I know
well, that too. Yeah.
Their teeth are key. When my son got Jane, I said to him, I don't care what you do, but you have to have her teeth checked every year. I said,
yeah. I mean, dental pain is the same in cats as it is in people, and they don't brush. And so, the decay is the same neurologic pain pathway for them as it is for us. So quality of life just demands that be regularly cared for.
And can you brush a cat's teeth? I think my son does. I think he puts that little rubber thing on with the little fingers. Yeah. He brushes her teeth because, he grew up with me doing that with the puppies and then with the bigger dogs. So it just was natural for him to make Jane a dog.
I like your son already. I haven't even met him. I just think you can. You once you get a cat used to it, and you can follow it up with a really highly valued treat. The treat training works just as well in cats as it does in dogs.
Yeah, they're no dopes. It probably works faster on cats, right? Because they
probably.
And they might teach you a few tricks so they get more treats.
Oh, absolutely. That's an absolute. They teach us every bit as much as we teach them, or maybe more.
Elizabeth, we talked about so much here. I just want to go back to review that, we talked about the language that you have to pick up on as a cat owner, or else your cat will tell you you're not picking up on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And they'll say, they'll yell at you like, why aren't you paying attention to the fact that I'm telling you I'm hungry? Yeah. Or telling you that I want to go out in the catio and play for a while, or I want to play with my toy or whatever.
Or you need to clean the litter box.
Yeah, well, there's that.
Well, Jane tells me that all the time.
That's good for her. That's awesome.
And she's very clean, so it's sort of like one and done. And I sat there and he goes, Mom, I just really wish she'd use it maybe twice. And I go, well, she's very clean.
She sounds like a lover. Where is she?
She's in North Hollywood, so she's on your neck of the woods, but she's south of you.
Yes, indeed, by a lot.
By a lot. Otherwise, he would be in your practice, I'm sure, because I would have told him about you. So that's a drive.
Thank you.
But so, with COVID, really make a plan for your pet. With or without COVID, you should have a plan for your pet, because we all don't have a crystal ball and know if we're going to get sick. But now, clearly, there is more of a risk of getting sick. So make a plan for your pet, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And don't worry that your cat, even if you get the virus, don't worry that your cat might give it to somebody else, because they won't. So it's one of those things where if you can get a plan in place, there's no risk to the person that's helping you.
That is so key, because I know that I've been writing about that on Facebook and Twitter, because I've been reading all the documents that are coming out of Vet Partners and other veterinary groups, so that people won't be afraid, because I have a lot of pet owners who read what I do, and I don't profess to be a veterinarian. I usually give them the link to the article so they can read it themselves, but I summarize by saying, listen, it's unlikely. And I of course say, just use an herbal wipe down. If you really need to, make sure, just use an herbal wipe down on the dog or the cat, and it'll give you peace of mind.
Yeah, sure.
Yep, above and beyond it.
Plug in a feel away. The feel away diffusers are a terrific way to calm an environment down a little bit for cats if you have to move them.
That is great, because I use that for my dogs during thunderstorms, the dog ones, the dog things, so that they calm down during thunderstorms. I want to also point out that Dr. Colleran pointed out that we should always go to wellness cat checks as opposed to just response to, maybe my cat's not feeling well today. And the other thing is, everybody Googles everything now, and I'm just going to plug one thing, and that is there's a curated website curated by people like me called catfriendly.com. And we make sure that every word that's in that website is curated by a veterinarian. And so you can there's really good information out there. You just need to know where to look. And Googling something, a symptom or something like that, is just not going to cut it. You need to find those curated websites where you can get really good information. I thank you so much for that. So we're going to put that in the notes of the podcast, everyone, so that you all know where to go to get curated information by real veterinarians who are focused on cats, because it is about being focused on these wonderful beings who are different, but in a good way.
Indeed they are.
In a good way.
Indeed they are.
Dr. Colleran, thank you so much for being here. We're on Why Do Pets Matter, hosted by me, Debra Hamilton, and I look forward to all of you coming back next week to hear our next installment, Why Do Pets Matter? You've been listening to the podcast, Why Do Pets Matter? This is Debra Hamilton. Do you have a great idea or guest or topic that you'd like me to cover? Write me at hamiltonlawandmediation.com or email me at whydopetsmatterpodcast@gmail.com. Until next week, our pets do matter. Thank you for being here with me.